Welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson. Have you ever had that friend, that buddy of yours, homeboy of yours, that if you needed assistance or some type of help, be it money, need a ride to work, need somebody to, take you somewhere, do a solid for you, run you across town, run you out of town, or whatever the case may have been, and that friend assisted you. If you ever needed some money from, help you out with some money, gave you a substantial amount of money and whatnot and everything, and you borrowed the money from them and you paid them back and everything, and that person was always that person that you could look for to, you could get a favor from that particular person. But as well as when that person, you know what I'm saying, and that particular person was always there for you. We've all had cases like that, or different people that we've ran across in our life that we were able to get that from that particular person in our time of need. But one of the main, and that's about obviously building a relationship, trust, and whatnot from that particular person. Much like how you do with credit, dealing with banks or anything like that. That's how your credit score goes up, down, and all around, and all that type of stuff. It's based upon a thing of trust, almost based upon a thing of loyalty, so to speak. You remember the opening of The Godfather, in the opening when the mortician guy came by asking Vito Corleone, could he possibly help him out because his daughter was getting beat by her boyfriend and whatnot, and he wanted Vito to kill that guy, the boyfriend. Now, Vito ended up asking him, said, "You never came to my house. I've invited you. You never came over. You never invited me over to your house. But yet you come to my door wanting me to commit murder." Right? And whatnot. And he said, "You're not even my friend." And so then the guy asked him, "Can I be your friend?" and whatnot and stuff like that. He said, Sure, okay, I'll be your friend and all that, and all that. And he said, "I may ask you to do a favor for me. I may actually do something that may not ever come, but I would expect for you to do that particular favor." Right? Well, the time came, Sonny gets killed. Everybody knows, whoever watched that particular movie said, "Hey, look at my boy, make him look, I can't have his mother see him like this. Look what they did to my boy," and whatnot. Now, they romanticize a lot of that gangster stuff and whatnot, loyalty, because at the end of the day, them guys are out for themselves for the most part. From what I've seen, all them guys eventually turn snitch. Only a few small amount of them guys really hold on to that particular, that code in that particular world. Which brings me to these particular types, to basically, you see the topic at hand. Now, Ezekiel Elliot was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in 2016, first round, 4th pick. Now, we all know Ezekiel had issues coming out basically because of a girlfriend who are friends with benefits, as they say. Basically, he was basically, he's getting ready to get drafted. He didn't have fun with that gal. He getting ready to move up in the type of women he getting ready to deal with. And he was kind of kicking her to the curb and whatnot. And she, false accusations and the whole 9 yards, so was swirling around him before the draft and even swirling before the draft. Jerry Jones did not waver. Jerry Jones still went and drafted Ezekiel Elliott 4th overall in the first round. There was no question he was getting that's my back. Little do people want to talk mess about Jerry Jones. He knows football, and he was building the roster with that 2016 draft. Now, they go on, right? 2016. So 2016 ends up being a banner year for the Cowboys, 13-3. They win the NFC East. Zeke leads the league in rushing with over 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, I believe. First team All-Pro Bowler. Like I said, won the East, and they were losing the playoff games to the Green Bay Packers, right? Now, in the midst of that, the stuff that was happening, the point that I'm making about that is the fact that in him being, before all that stuff even actually happened, his draft stock never, in other words, Jerry Jones never wavered. He never wavered. That's my guy. Remember back in 83 when it was rumors of Dan Marino and cocaine, Dan Marino was picked, I think, 25th by the Dolphins when he basically, in my opinion, was the best quarterback in that draft, bar none. Rumors of marijuana use with that of Warren Sapp dropped his stock from probably the top 10 player in that top 10 player in the draft, and I believe that's the 95 or 96 draft if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so Zeke does his thing and stuff like that. 2017 comes around. 2017 comes around. They end up finding out, hey, nothing to it. It was all false. Didn't do anything, but he's got to still deal with the league issues, right? He still got to deal with the league issues and whatnot. So they're gonna probably suspend him 4 games or what, maybe. But because the league has to look into it, even though if from the law standpoint of view, nothing was wrong, cases was dropped. Okay, go up to so they're still trying to find this thing out. So 2017 is March, St. Patrick's Day. There you go. Zeke's running around there half drunk. I know he was lifting the girl's skirt up, showing her women parts and whatnot. Not a good look. Not a good look at all. However, Jerry's still standing. Jerry's right there with him and stuff like that. League didn't do anything, but he's thumbing his nose up at it, and it's like we're gonna probably have to get these guys some times and say, okay, we're gonna do that. And we say, okay, we're 4 games. Okay, then it ends up being 6 games. They appeal. They do all the stuff. They fight it, lawsuits and all that stuff swirling around from that time all the way up until basically November 2017, whenever they finally suspended him for the last 6 games after he played 10 games. Got him for the last 6 games, but for 6 games of the season around November sometime. Okay, so after all that, now in the midst of that, I forgot that Zeke, not only that happened in St. Patrick's Day, so right between training camp, or right between OTAs and all that stuff, he gets in a fight in a bar. Jerry Jones is right there with him, still with him. Tells him to fight this thing. They ain't got nothing because the laws dropped. The laws dropped the case and everything like that. Go on. They end up suspending him. Okay, go on. 2018 season comes around, right? 2017 now, like I said, Zeke missed 6 games. Vital part, they had a playoff push they was trying to hope for. Zeke wasn't there for some vital games. That caused them to lose 9-7. Still a winning record, but they could have possibly won the East and kind of gone to the playoffs. If nothing more, they could have went to the playoffs. 2018, another banner year. Zeke's doing his thing again. Led the league in rushing, another Pro Bowl nod, All-Pro second team, whole 9 yards and whatnot and stuff like that. Boom, going on and whatnot. 2018, shortly after the season, Zeke messing around in Vegas, gets into it with some security officer there, probably making $9 or $10 an hour. You can see by the smirk on the guy's face, Zeke's having an issue with his woman and all this other kind of stuff. Guy says some stuff. Zeke goes over there and gives a little bump. You already know, as we well know, it's a guy's giving a lawsuit for like $500,000, something like that. He was pushing his button. That's what these guys out here doing anyway. Zeke gets into that. OTA startup. Zeke's running around, helmet, jersey, shorts, everything like that going on. Everything's cool. Everything's fine, right? Everything's all together. Everything's good, right? Then all of a sudden, you got these backs getting money and stuff like that, so Zeke wants some money and whatnot. So what does Zeke do? As soon as training camp starts up, or get ready to start up for training camp, Zeke holds out. Okay, Zeke is holding out. And the thing is getting a little ugly here and there. This is what I'm talking about, people. Where's the loyalty? All the stuff that Zeke did from the Cowboys, did they waver? They still picked him up for. He didn't drop. They picked him up. The stuff went on. Jerry fought with him. The issue with the girl raising the top up and stuff at St. Patrick's Day, he's still there. He gets into a fight. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys still there. They fight and try to fight that whole case out and stuff like that. Let's fight. Still there. This comes up. More or less, they still there. Now, Jerry Jones did the ultimate. This is not about money, people. This is about the principle of it. This is the principle of this whole situation. So the principle of the situation, that more or less how some people say that he tested him, or some say he shit tested Zeke and Zeke has failed in that the loyalty is not there for Zeke. I guarantee you, if this has nothing to do with money, this has to do with loyalty. They stuck through Zeke through all of that when they could have cut ties with him. If he's with Belichick and the Pats, they probably already didn't cut that guy. They stand fast with him. So if he comes to camp, I bet you in 2 weeks he gets his money, or getting his money by this week here. The whole thing about the Jalen Smith move was that Jalen Smith, they stuck with him. They drafted him against the same draft. He finally played really his first full year this past year. Hell of a linebacker. He has another year like that. He should be a Pro Bowl now, an All-Pro selection. and whatnot. He does that. He signs him, and this kid brought a Cowboy for life because he went on about his business, did what he had to do, stayed loyal to that particular cause and whatnot. Because really, they don't pay linebackers in Dallas for the most part and whatnot. So Zeke, who is one of the top 3 backs in the league, and I just did a piece on this, failed miserably. No loyalty. They have a cap at the Cowboys. Like you said, in the pie and whatnot, that they have to divvy up this stuff because they got to pay these guys. Now we know Zeke is a top dog, and I think was going to eventually end up paying Zeke. Where does your loyalty lay with me? Because I have cap restrictions. I can go on and so forth. Will you work with me? Let me see what he's going to do now. What did he do? He's holding out, letting his agent talk, and all of this other kind of stuff going on. Zeke failed the test. No loyalty with that young man. He's showing no loyalty to someone who stood by him because Zeke, more or less, whether I want to admit to it or not, Zeke has been an issue since he's came into the league. Every year, something has happened with Zeke. Every year. Just about. Every year, something has happened with Zeke. So here we go. So then when Jerry stood by, so now I need you because by now, if you know, okay, it's a business, then you know I have cap restrictions. Come in and go ahead on and do like the rest of them guys, like Dak. Dak came in. Okay, Dak is 32-16. And is not one of the top 10 upper echelon quarterbacks in the league. However, he has that, the 32-16 mark. The 32-16 mark. That man came to camp. Why didn't Zeke come to camp? This guy, and Dak has not been in any problems. Zeke has. And this is where the issue comes in with me. This is where it's messed up. Zeke has exemplified no loyalty to that particular organization that has stood by him through thick and thin. Jerry has done all of that. And this guy, he gives him the shit test only for him to actually fail it. That's exactly what he did. He failed it. He should have reported to camp, worked, and that would have showed Jerry he's with me. He knows I'm in a pickle now and whatnot. I got the money to pay him, but let me see what he's going to do because really that incident with the guy in Las Vegas, I knew that was an issue that Jerry was going to have, but he was going to do it a certain way. I'm saying, let me see what he's going to do because I know he's going to ask for money and he deserves more money. He's outperforming this book country. And it's not like Zeke is going to be homeless. Zeke signed a contract. Zeke is worth $12 million. That's his net worth. Zeke makes $6.2 million a year. You're 24 years old and you work $12 million or you're getting $6.2 million a year. Dude, come on. You're not going to the poorhouse. Go report to camp, show that you're a leader from that perspective, and I guarantee you Jerry was already would have paid this young man. He gave him a shit test and Zeke failed it. Why could Dak come there? Right? Because Dak is basically the face of the franchise insofar as the quarterback could come there, whose his payday is going to be greater than that of Zeke's. He can come there, but your running back can't come there. And your running back is really the straw that stirs the drink, like I mentioned before. He deserves the bread. My point of it is he failed the test. He failed the loyalty test of Jerry Jones. And I'm not going to say that he's not going to sign me. He should get his money, but he needs to let him say Zeke failed that test miserably. He failed the loyalty test. He failed that test. When Jerry needed him to take one for the team for optics, he couldn't even do it. He's worried about his money. And that's why I told y'all the league is a league full of pocket watchers because that's all them guys do. Okay, so Zeke needs to learn loyalty. Ezekiel Elliot has shown he has no loyalty to that organization. After that organization has been with him through thick and thin, and that joker barely 24 years old. So he needs to get his priorities in order. All right? Like I tell you guys, there is no GOAT. There's no greatest of all time, longest time still going on. Numbers don't lie and get emotional. People do. I'll check y'all out a little bit later.